Linkages, ASEAN Frameworks on Rural Development, this session aims to explore the connections between the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development and other ASEAN sectoral frameworks and initiatives through a panel discussion. For this, may I pass the floor to Ms. Afifah Sahib from the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development Malaysia to facilitate the session. Ms. Afifah, the floor is all yours.
All right, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Welcome back to our first panel discussion on strengthening linkages ASEAN frameworks on rural development. My name is Afifah Sahib from the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development of Malaysia, representing SOM RDPE Malaysia, and I will be your moderator for this session. So we are fortunate for this session. We have a distinguished panel of experts who represent a range of important ASEAN sectoral bodies that related to the rural development. And for each of them, they brings a valuable experience to share with us during the discussion in this very important topic. So to get started, allow me to briefly introduce our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist, I would like to welcome Dr. 𝗟𝗜𝗩𝗘, Director of the Department of Rural Development of Myanmar under the Ministry of Cooperative and Rural Development, representing Senior Officials Meeting on Rural Development and Poverty Eradication, SOM RDPE in Myanmar. Dr. 𝗟𝗜𝗓 has over 29 years of experience in the field of sustainable rural development and poverty reduction. He plays a vital role in Myanmar's effort towards sustainable rural development. Under his leadership, he has successfully implemented various key initiatives pertaining to rural basic infrastructure development, rural livelihoods, and incomes generation. On our next panelist, we would like to welcome Ms. Paz Benavides, Assistant Secretary for Policy and Regulations from Department of Agriculture of Philippines. And currently, he assumed the chair of Senior Officials Meeting of the ASEAN Ministers on Agriculture and Forestry, SOM AMAF. Ms. Paz has over 20 years of vast working experience and had involved in various consultancy projects pertaining to environment and natural resources, agriculture, as well as local government. She is specialized in agriculture and its related sectors. Our third panelist, I would like to introduce Ms. Bernadette Mapue-Wakin, Director of the Department of Social Welfare Development of Philippines. And she is representing the Senior Officials Meeting on Social Welfare and Development, SOM SIWAT Philippines. Ms. BM, that's her name, has been serving the government service for 16 years, working along areas on policy review and development, program management, legal review, and so forth. As a social worker and a lawyer, she has been an advocate in promoting and protecting the rights of women, children, youth, and other vulnerable sectors. Under her leadership, she led a program in Philippines focusing on empowering the rural communities to achieve improved access to basic necessities. Our fourth panelist joining us virtually today, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Tan Nang So, Deputy Director General from Public Health from Department of Public Health of Myanmar. Dr. Tan is the Vice Chair of Senior Officials Meeting on Health Development, SOM HD. Dr. Tan is a medical professional. He has been actively involved in public health initiatives in Myanmar, including health education and vaccination program. Dr. Tan, are you with us right now? Dr. Tan?
Yes.
All right.
Very nice to meet you all. Thank you.
All right. So I would like to introduce our final panelist. The fifth panelist is Mr. Azman bin Abdullah, Deputy Undersecretary of Policy and International Relations Division from Ministry of Entrepreneur and Cooperative Development of Malaysia. And Mr. Azman is representing the ASEAN Coordinating Committee of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, 𝗟𝗜𝗩𝗘 Malaysia. Mr. Azman has over 22 years of experience in the Malaysian civil service and has consistently developed and executed strategic plans, institutional reforms and stakeholder engagement. And Mr. Azman is committed to advancing sustainable governance and innovative public service delivery. So thank you to all the panelists for being able to join us. The heart of our discussion is to explore the intersections between the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development and the broader ecosystem of ASEAN sectoral frameworks, initiative and work plans. So given the fact that rural development is not a standalone issue, therefore the success of the implementation of the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development is also a bit much dependent on other sectoral, on the cooperative and also the connection together across all relevant sectoral bodies. So let's hear from our panelists on their valuable insight on the strengthening linkages between the ASEAN framework on rural development so that we will be able to see the cross-cutting issues and in a more holistic, inclusive and comprehensive. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first panelist, Dr. 𝗟𝗜𝗩𝗘, to give your initial thoughts.
Thank you, moderator. A very good morning to my distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today morning, we hear the very unique work from the Excellency Secretary General as well as my lovely friend Miguel. That is about integration, social inclusion, gender mainstreaming, climate change adaptation. Yes, everybody talk about that work. So the real question is, how we will make it work on the ground? That is challenging, particularly from the coordination is the big issue for the coordination and cooperation among across the sector. Fortunately, our ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development gives the solution. So when we started this journey back 2019 in Naypyidaw, Myanmar, we started developing the master plan. So at that time, the ASEAN was facing the immense challenges that is about absolute poverty, lack of opportunity for the women and youth. That is also the growing trend of the climate change. So it called for the more better integration approach for sustainability of our people's life. So ASEAN Master Plan get up, the people-centered roadmap, guided at the 6 strategic goals and 52 concrete actions. So, that ASEAN Master Plan is not just a document, it is the living guide. That one connect to our effort across all the sectors. So, from my point of view, there is the 2 significant integrations and linkage stand out. First is about the linkage between the agriculture, food security and MSME. Most of our real economies rely on the agriculture. When it thrives, it sustains our people. It supports the local market. It gives rise to the small and medium enterprise that create the non-farm job. The second linkage is the connection between the social protection, health, nutrition. Programs like the cash transfer program for the elderly or the children and mothers that improve the nutrition, health, and productivity, creating the virtuous cycle of the strengthening both family and economy. In Myanmar, we have seen such kind of practice. We have shifted the people-centered approach from the centralized planning to the bottom-up planning. We empower the villages through the decentralization, agricultural reform, and better rural finances. The lesson is clear. Rural development does not work in isolation. Every sector, such as the agriculture, education, health, environment, social protection, social safety net is as a part of the same ecosystem. Otherwise, we will not achieve our target. In the national level, Myanmar Ministry of Cooperatives and Rural Development is coordinated with all the ministry concerned through the DPE. We work very closely with all ministry concerned to ensure that rural development reach every aspect of the people's life. Together with the Ministry of Health, we promote the public health program. We also construct the rural clinics. With the Ministry of Education, we have the improved school facility, so that make the children can learn in safe and healthy environment. And with the Ministry of Social Welfare, we deliver the social pension program for the elderly, cash transfer program for the mothers and children, ensuring no one leaves behind. Our program also advanced the gender equality, giving rural women a stronger voice in decision-making process. In line with the Myanmar climate change strategy, we are investing in the climate smart agriculture, renewable energy, and disaster resilient infrastructure, building communities that stand strong in face of future shock. In recent years, Myanmar has reconstructed how rural development is governed. The former Committee on Rural Development and Poverty Eradication was replaced by the Central Supervision Committee on Rural Development. That body is oversee the all national level coordination, setting policy, managing the resources, and align the ministry under one vision. This structure ensures that our plans are strategic, well coordinated, and effective, minimizing duplication and maximizing the impact. However, I see that rural development is not just the national work. It is part of the larger ASEAN vision. Our framework, as well as the ASEAN Master Plan, aligned with the ASEC Blueprint 2025, as well also the AEC Blueprint 2025, linking the social inclusion with the economic growth. Through the initiative like the ASEAN Strategic Action Plan on SME development, the rural communities are gaining the access to market, technology, and finance. This integration helps diversify the rural economies, creating the job, reduce the poverty. But our growth must be inclusive. Giving vulnerable group access to education, health, and social protection. Of course, we face challenges. Institutional silo still remain. Different level of development across the ASEAN mean one size fit for all approach is not good solution. It does not work. Limited resource and inconsistent data make coordination harder. But despite this obstacle, our shared commitment is very strong and our direction is clear. To strengthen the linkage between the national and regional level, as well as the across sector and across pillar within the ASEAN entity, I propose the three key approach. The first one is form a dialogue platform so that national and ASEAN level bodies can exchange ideas, align their goals, adapt their strategy. Second approach is a regional knowledge network. That will be the digital space for sharing the research, success story, best practices among all the ASEAN member states. The third approach is the joint training and study business, allowing the policymaker as well as the practitioner to learn firsthand on each other's experience. Of course, you may also think about for the promoting the value chain integration. Connecting the rural producer to the ASEAN market through the trade facilitation, quality standard, and online marketplace. In essence, ASEAN Master Plan reminds us that rural development is not a single project or program. It is the interconnected system where agriculture supports livelihood, social protection builds the resilience, and good governance ensures the sustainability. Our task is to keep this linkage strong, to work hand in hand, across sector, across border, so that our village, our people, and our region can move forward truly inclusive and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zarni, for sharing your opening thoughts. So for the next, I would like to invite our second panelist, Ms. Paz, to deliver her presentation.
Good morning. Allow me to make my presentation using a PowerPoint. Good morning, distinguished guests. This is the flow of my presentation. And, okay. Okay. So rural development remains the backbone of ASEAN's social and economic transformation. It is in the rural heartlands where food is produced, ecosystems are protected, and livelihoods are sustained across the region. Yet, it is also where poverty, inequality, and vulnerability to climate and natural resources are mostly deeply felt. In this light, the linkages between rural development and our core sectoral work in the food, agriculture, and forestry sector is not only natural, but necessary. These connections form the foundation of inclusive and resilient ASEAN communities. So rural poverty and low incomes continue to affect farmers and fisherfolk who remain among the poorest sectors despite their central role in food production. Aging rural populations coupled with youth migration to urban areas are creating labor shortages and slowing technology adoption. Meanwhile, infrastructure and water gaps continue to constrain productivity, while post-harvest losses of up to 40% undermine food security and farmer incomes. In the Philippines, for instance, the National Convergence Initiative for Sustainable Rural Development, which unites 4 Philippine ministries, integrates farm productivity, ecosystem health, and community welfare by bringing together different government agencies. Similarly, the Farm and Fisheries Clustering and Consolidation Program of the Department of Agriculture organizes farmers and fisherfolk into clusters, empowering them with better access to finance, markets, and technology. Oh, sorry. So this is the National Convergence Initiative for Sustainable Rural Development and the Farm and Fisheries Clustering and Consolidation Program of the Philippines. Okay. We are also pursuing investments that directly translate these linkages into tangible results. Through the Philippine Rural Development Project Scale Up, we have built roads, bridges, and irrigation systems and supported rural enterprises that strengthen agri-value chains. Complementing this, the Mindanao Inclusive Agriculture Development Project supports indigenous peoples and upland communities through climate-smart enterprises and livelihood diversification. Meanwhile, programs such as Fish Corps promote sustainable fisheries management, and habitat rehabilitation, linking food security with ecosystem conservation. We are also investing in technology, infrastructure, and data systems to sustain these gains. The ongoing establishments of a mega cold storage facility in Camarines Sur in the Bicol region, for example, helps reduce post-harvest losses and improve food safety. Mechanization and digitalization are equally critical. Over 5,000 modern farm machines have been distributed to reduce cost and raise productivity. Meanwhile, the registry system for basic sectors in agriculture, covering over 10 million farmers and fisherfolk, now underpins data-driven planning and transparent service delivery. The Philippines' national experiences reflect the vision of the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development and is reinforced by one of Malaysia's priority economic deliverables, the ASEAN Framework for Cooperation in the Food, Agriculture, and Forestry sector towards 2045. This ASEAN framework calls upon us to link rural transformation with sustainable and regenerative agricultural practices, digital innovation, climate action, and social inclusion. This is the same call of the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development as presented by the ASEAN Secretariat earlier. Let me share a few reflections on how these linkages are evolving at the regional level, arising out of the recently held 47th meeting of the ASEAN Ministers on Agriculture and Forestry in Manila, Philippines. First, sustainable and regenerative agriculture lies at the intersection of productivity, environment, and poverty reduction. The framework envisions ASEAN-wide guidelines tailored to local contexts, along with training programs for farmers on agroecology, sustainable land use, and climate-smart production. These efforts not only protect our natural capital, but also generate income opportunities through green and circular economies. Second, capacity building on food safety and climate will strengthen food safety systems through ASEAN e-certification, shared standards, and climate-smart value chains. We protect consumers, enhance regional trade, and ensure that rural communities can adapt to climate change. Third is innovation and digital transformation, represent the bridge between our youth and our future. Through precision agriculture, smart irrigation, and regional networks of agri-tech startups, ASEAN is creating an enabling environment for young entrepreneurs to view farming not as a burden, but as a business. This is crucial to addressing the challenge of aging farmers, which affects both productivity and generational renewal across our region. Fourth, the ASEAN framework also emphasizes decarbonization and climate resilience in agriculture and forestry, encouraging climate-smart practices and regional adaptation monitoring. This will directly support our rural producers who are on the front lines of floods, droughts, and typhoons. This can be realized, however, through effective coordination and cross-sectoral collaboration through our regional platforms, SOM-AMAF, SOM-RDPE, SOM-SWD, SOM-HD, and the ASEAN Coordinating Committee on MSMEs. We can strengthen the interface among ASEAN sectoral bodies through regular policy dialogues, joint studies, field exchanges, and integrated data systems that allow evidence-based decision-making. The added value of these linkages is clear. They generate co-benefits across sectors: higher rural incomes, safer and more nutritious food, sustainable ecosystems, empowered women and youth, and strengthen regional value chains. Ultimately, this will contribute to the realization of ASEAN Vision 2045, which envisions a sustainable, resilient, and inclusive region. However, challenges persist. Institutional silos, which I think was already mentioned by the earlier speaker, resource limitations, and uneven capacities across member states. To overcome this, ASEAN can focus on the following: information and knowledge sharing through regional learning networks. I think this regional multi-stakeholder dialogue is one of them. Joint research and capacity building with support from partners and private sector actors. Pilot projects on digital agriculture, regenerative farming, and rural entrepreneurship that can be scaled across member states, and continuous coordination among ASEAN working groups under the SOM-AMAF and other sectoral working groups. As the Philippines prepares for the ASEAN Chairmanship in 2026, our proposed priorities, regenerative and resilient agriculture, and the 1 Billion Trees Initiative seek to bring these linkages to life. These are not only environmental actions, but also investments in livelihoods, climate adaptation, and shared prosperity. In closing, ASEAN's rural transformation will depend on how well we weave together our efforts across food, health, trade, and social welfare. The future we envision is one where no rural community is left behind and where sustainable agriculture is the foundation of a resilient ASEAN community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Paz, for enlightening us on the agriculture initiatives. So now I would like to invite Ms. VM for her opening thoughts.
Good morning, everyone. Requesting to pull out my presentation, please. The Department of Social Welfare and Development is mandated to develop and implement social protection programs that reduce poverty, build resilience, and promote social inclusion to improve the quality of life of the marginalized sectors. Our mandate provides a strong linkage to rural development as it works on improving the well-being of people living in the rural areas. Let us watch this mandate in action as we link social protection to rural development using the community-driven development approach through one of the longest programs of the department, which is also part of the social reform and poverty alleviation agenda of the government. The 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗚𝗡 laban sa kahirapan, or which also means linking arms in the fight against poverty, comprehensive and integrated delivery of social services, or 𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡. Please watch this short video.
2 decades, 𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡s, or the 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗡 laban sa kahirapan, comprehensive and integrated delivery of social services, remains as one of the champions of inclusive development through the support of various development partners by empowering our communities. This program's achievements can be attributed to the employment of the Community-Driven Development Approach, or CDD. CDD ensures that the sub-projects identified and implemented by the community are tailored to meet their needs. Moreover, community participation, people empowerment, and good governance enable poor municipalities, the marginalized and disadvantaged communities, to be involved in all aspects of the program. From planning, implementation, up to sustainability of their sub-projects. To meet this goal, 𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡s stands within the following core principles: participation, transparency, and accountability. CDD is better exemplified using the SAAC, or the Community Empowerment Activity Cycle. Community members are empowered to have full participation and ownership of the sub-projects. This means they have control over decisions and resources. From planning, budgeting, and execution, to monitoring and evaluation, 𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡s has played a big role in the development of the disaster risk reduction management capabilities of communities.
𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡s promotes rationalized allocation of resources by focusing on rural areas where poverty, vulnerability, and lack of access to basic services are most pronounced. The program focuses on municipalities and communities that meet one or more of the following conditions, including high poverty incidence, geographic and rural disadvantage, vulnerability to risks and hazards, nutrition and human development challenges, and indigenous peoples and marginalized groups. This prioritization further enhances the linkage of rural development and social protection. Apologies for the technical glitches. Can the Secretariat help me to pull out? I think one slide is missing. If you can just show the PDF file, if it's okay. Anyway, as I proceed, may I request the Secretariat to pull out the PDF version? Maybe it's because of incompatibility of the, so one slide is missing, but let me continue. By empowering rural communities to identify their needs or vulnerabilities, develop plans for intervention, and manage sub-project implementation, the program achieves poverty reduction, resilient communities, and inclusive development. Community-driven development expands beyond economic aspects. It addresses the needs of poor and marginalized rural communities by focusing on addressing the gaps as to participation, access to basic services, sustained income, and resources to meet the basic needs. Since 2003, more than 92,000 sub-projects were completed, but the program has been more than just a development initiative. It has become a movement of people, by the people, and for the people. 24.5 million households touched, 2.9 million volunteers stepping up from their own communities, and 2.5 million job opportunities opening doors for families. Nearly 1 million non-traditional jobs have empowered women to take on roles once thought impossible. The fruits of these efforts across the years include the countless sub-projects built, schools where children now dream bigger, roads, bridges, and water systems that have changed daily lives, and so much more. All these help in promoting rural development. Likewise, the National Steering Committee for Program includes various national government agencies serving as a policy body to ensure synergies and complementation of resources. Can you, if the Secretariat could still work on the slides? Okay. That's the slide I am referring to. Some of the sub-projects of the department focusing on the basic service facilities in our community. The 𝗟𝗟𝗡 program aligns very closely with the ASEAN Master Plan on Rural Development. It builds the capacity of our communities and local government units in participatory planning, fiscal management, and accountability by institutionalizing CDD in local governance. It promotes territorial development approach, giving rural communities active role in their own development using the community-driven development approach, where communities themselves identify, prioritize, and implement community projects such as health centers, schools, roads, and livelihoods that directly reduce rural poverty. It funds projects for disaster risk reduction and climate-adaptive infrastructures such as evacuation centers, flood-resilient bridges, potable water systems, and the like. 𝗟𝗟𝗡 mandates representation of women, indigenous peoples, and marginalized groups in community assemblies for joint actions on decision-making, planning, and implementation. This is aligned with the ASEAN Master Plan, highlighting inclusivity or involvement of women, youth, and other marginalized groups in rural development. The program recognizes that people living in poverty are the people best able to say what barriers they face and what resources they need to overcome it. Engaging the communities to promote rural development primarily ensures that the realization of the three major goals: responsive, high-quality projects, since community participation ensures that development efforts respond to actual needs. Tools like participatory situational analysis supports bottom-up planning. This involvement also improves cost efficiency, quality, and speed of implementation, while community oversight promotes transparency and ownership. Sustainability and ownership, since engagement throughout the project lifecycle fosters a strong sense of ownership, which leads to long-term commitment and sustainability of investments. Active participation in implementation, monitoring, and maintenance helps ensure continued functionality of infrastructures. And empowerment, governance, and social capital, since the CDD process builds community capacity by equipping people with skills in local analysis, project design, and implementation. It also strengthens social capital by fostering trust, reinforcing the community spirit, and encouraging civic participation. At the convergence level, or the governance level, participation improves accountability, transparency, and participatory planning and budgeting, while inclusiveness efforts ensure that vulnerable groups are meaningfully represented in decision-making. Strengthening regional linkages on rural development through CDD can be made possible by positioning CDD as a territorial development tool that integrates poverty reduction, resilience, and inclusivity. This can be done through policy brief or advocacy paper showcasing how CDD and similar models of community empowerment in other ASEAN member states embody the Master Plan on Rural Development. The Department of Social Welfare and Development has been advocating the institutionalization of CDD at the national level. The institutionalization at the regional level will provide a framework that member states can adapt to their respective context. As ASEAN moves forward, we must prioritize strategies that ensure rural and vulnerable communities have equitable access to education, cultural participation, and social development. This is because true progress is measured by the opportunities we extend to those who need them the most. Good day to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. VM, for enlightening us on the community involvement in your initiatives. So next, I would like to invite our panelists online, Dr. Tan, to present the initial remarks and thoughts. Dr. Tan?
Yes. Good morning, Mrs. Chair, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Tan, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, very good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure and honor to be present for our rural development project as well as the rural health development agenda. Today, my presentation title is the Participatory Rural Healthcare Approach. So please let me show in PowerPoint slide. So this is the demography of the Republic of Union of Myanmar. So around the 51.3 to 52 million of people, 66% of people are residing in the rural area. So the rural development is the, on the other way, this is the all-round development of our country. If rural are well developed, our country will develop together in the same way. Next, please.
Betul. LED kena back kan. Ada mic tak off? Kat sini ada. Ada mic.
Yes. So the concept of participatory rural healthcare is like community-centered approach involving rural people in health planning and action. like previously, our colleague from Philippines, she mentioned about the all-round development in the rural area, like CDD project. That is one of the approach of our Department of Public Health is implementing in all the rural areas in Myanmar. So we have altogether 15,000 rural health department in like the strategist village in Myanmar with good transportation and also in the remote area of Myanmar. So this is our infrastructure, and we are now promoting the community center, especially the rural people center approach in health planning and action, and also emphasize the local ownership, empowerment, and also the sustainability. And also, we focus not only in the health sector, in all-round development in the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of health. So this is the kind of shifting the top-down approach from the bottom-up approach. That is, it starts planning and implementation and local ownership, like community participation and ownership start at the every level of the community, especially in the rural area. So the key principle of our just the local empowerment, community empowerment, community participation, and also the community ownership of the program. So we are also implementing this agenda in community assessment using the participatory tool, planning with the community, especially in Myanmar. We have a very active something like village head committee that include the elders from the village and also the influencers like the religious leaders of the village and the village administrative committee and also the volunteer. They are actively participating in village head committee. So capacity building through training of the volunteers and also the advocacy and training and empowerment of the village head committee and implementation of health activity and monitoring and evaluation with the community feedback. So example of our health activity is something like we start with the maternal and reproductive health, and then child health, and then nutrition and school health, and then occupational health, especially for the agricultural workers who are residing in the local village, because we need to promote this kind of agricultural workers to be healthy and to be active in their work so that they can reduce their poverty and also increase their income. And also nutrition and safe water program, sanitation and waste management, and health education campaign, as well as the disease prevention and control campaign. And also the somehow like the disaster or something happen like evacuation or the rehabilitation from the disaster, like the community action plan, something like that. So that we integrate in our in participatory rural health program. And country example, especially in the Thailand, they have many village health volunteer, and also in our Myanmar is like a village health committee and auxiliary midwife, and in Nepal, and some example like the female community health volunteer, they already established. So the benefit of the participatory rural healthcare is strengthen local ownership and sustainability, build trust between the community and health providers and also the community members, and focus on real community needs. What is the community need, especially like the like non-communicable diseases such as diabetes or hypertension, or sometimes the like the workplace related diseases, something like that, and also promote the self-reliance and resilience of the community. However, in participatory health, rural health approach have some limited challenges. So sometimes we have the limited funding or incentives for the volunteer. Sometimes poor coordination between the government sector and community. sometimes cultures and genders behavior. So we need to include all the women and all the marginalized peoples to include in this kind of participatory rural health approach. And also need for continuous training and supervision also needed. So in summary, participatory rural healthcare empowers community to take part in their own health development, and it builds sustainability, equity, and trust through shared decision making and action. So thank you so much. That is also in line with the ASEAN Rural Development Agenda. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tan, for sharing on the participatory rural health care initiatives in Myanmar. And now I would like to invite our final speaker, Mr. Azman, to deliver his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Thank you, Madam Afifah, distinguished speakers, distinguished guests, and members of the floor. Before I begin my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Azman. I'm from the Ministry of Entrepreneur and Cooperative Development of Malaysia, which Madam Afifah has highlighted on my background, but what she has missed that I have 22 years in experience in Malaysia government, but half of it, 11 years, is rural development. So when I came to international 3 years ago, so it's quite challenging because there are so many acronyms in the international relation. So mine is ACC MSME, ASEAN Coordinating Committee on MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprises, in which that is the first acronym that I have memorized to start my job. So today I will share with you on the 𝗟𝗓𝗡. We call it 𝗟𝗓𝗡 because we have difficulties to pronounce it. So we call it as 𝗟𝗓𝗡. So I will share on the 𝗟𝗓𝗡 what our planning, and we see how we can link to the rural development planning, as you mentioned. And also to the Mr. You have mentioned the agroecology. That's a new term for me. Thank you very much. I learned something new today. So let me begin with the slides. So in terms of the MSME, ASEAN, in terms of the ASEAN is the world's fourth largest economy, and in a single economy bloc. And with MSMEs, it's about 70 million. We have about 70 million MSMEs, which represents about 99% of all the business entities in ASEAN, apart from the MNCs on sort of. So it of course also contributes to 85% of total employment, and their contribution is immense. It has a pivotal role and essential. As we chart, we will develop a strategic roadmap for the strategic planning for the MSME, which will directly influence people on the ground, not only for the urban people, also for the rural. So in terms of the governance of the 𝗟𝗓𝗡, let me briefly walk you through the reporting hierarchy that guides the mandate of the 𝗟𝗓𝗡. The vision of equitable economic development begins at the highest level with the ASEAN Economic Community, or we call it AEC. And we also have the high-level task force, which is a non-permanent committee that will advise the AEC on particular issues. Then we have the AEM, ASEAN Economic Ministers, which will endorse the strategic action plan. Under that, we have the Senior Economic Official Meeting, SEOM, and under SEOM, we have the 𝗟𝗓𝗡 as the sectoral bodies, which in charge of the MSME development in ASEAN. So we are currently drafting the we called it, last time we called it as SAP-SMED, Strategic Action Plan for SME Development, 2016 to 2025. which be the base of the foundation of competitiveness. And currently we are drafting the, we call it as Strategic Action Plan for MSMED, for micro, small, medium enterprises development. So instead of SubSMED, we add M in front of that to focus on the micro. That is for 2026 until 2030. So XME role is to formulate and coordinate the implementation of the strategy. And for the SubSMED 2016-2025, the clear vision of this plan is to foster globally competitive, resilient, and innovative MSMEs. And there are 5 foundational pillars of action defining our work in this plan. They are: first, productivity, technology, and innovation to drive efficiency and technological advancement. Second, to access to finance, ensuring MSMEs have the capital they need to grow. Third, market access and internationalization, helping local MSMEs reach regional and global markets. Fourth, policy and regulatory environment, creating a simpler and more enabling ecosystem. And fifth is entrepreneurship and human capital development, which is critically focusing on developing skills, especially for women and youth. So in terms of the achievement, we are still around 65% of we have about 51 action lines under this strategic action plan, and we have achieved so far around 65%, still a few more to go before we conclude 2025. And now for the SAP MSMED for 2026-2030, unlike the SubSMED, which goes for 10 years, so as the new plan is for 5 years, which is according to the AEC strategic plan, which is also 5 years, which make it more, I think, more easy to revisit and measure back on the strategy. In terms of the future agenda, moving ahead, we are now preparing the SAP MSMED. This work is done together with the Ernst & Young of Japan. And besides considering maintaining relevant objectives, we are also adding new agendas or something new to achieve. And there are 2 big shifts in this upcoming SAP MSMED, although it's only after the drafted process. The first one is to accelerate digital transformation. This shift is about creating a region-wide digital standard, such as the key initiatives include establishing a unique business identification number, or we call it as UBIN. So UBIN is a business registration number. When you register in Malaysia, you'll be given this number. You register your business, and you register in Philippines, you'll be given the same standard of number, which you can cross-border to do the business later on, but it's still in the early stage. And also we are looking at the advanced technologies such as AI and cloud computing, and to boost digital literacy. And the second shift is the green transition and sustainability. We must ensure MSMEs are prepared for the global move towards sustainability. This includes capacitating MSMEs for green transition, supporting the adoption of ESG reporting standards, and also facilitate the access to crucial green financing, sustainable financing. And apart from that, I would like to highlight on 2 business models which you may consider when you're planning for your plan. The first one is called as inclusive business. This is where big companies, they have the lowest income group in their pipeline. So maybe as a supplier, for example, for Malaysia, we have the Farm Fresh, the milk producer. So they have the B40, the lowest income group in the pyramid, as one of the supplier. Another business model is called social enterprise. This is where the business contributes back to the people who in need, with the poverty. So this is the 2 business model which you may consider in your plan. So in terms of connecting between MSME and your plan, there's a few maybe strategy or point that we can consider, but the main words is one of the keyword for the ASEAN this year, inclusivity. This is the main words that we have to get all the rural development into the MSMEs development. So first one is the inclusive finance, which means like providing microfinancing and increasing financial literacy, especially for the unbanked entrepreneurs. Second one is for capacity building. This for rural areas involves establishing maybe a vocational training and MSME support center for them to develop. Third one is the digital platforms. This digitalization must translate into tangible results. So providing direct market access for rural producers might be one of the solutions. And through mechanism like e-commerce platform that we mentioned by the first speakers just now. And also on the formalization efforts, this is to make this entrepreneur, we call it as legalize, they formalize their business. And also the last one is for green transition. So even at the local level, this can start with knowledge sharing on sustainable practices in their businesses. So to conclude, 𝗟𝗓𝗡 operates with a clear mandate from the AEC and maintains sustained momentum through the current SubSMED, future MSMED and action plans. So I can foresee that this plan in some ways will cross a path with your rural development plan. And to wrap up my presentation, let us remember that success is not only possible when every stakeholder comes together. By uniting our efforts, sharing knowledge, and supporting one another, we can unlock new opportunities and drive sustainable growth for ASEAN MSMEs, including the rural people, empowering them to thrive in an ever-evolving regional and global landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Azman, for sharing the strategic work plans on the small, medium, small and micro enterprises. Well, we have done the first session, which the panelists have shared their initial insights. So perhaps let's now we dive deeper into discussions. In policy making, you can put on table the best master plan, the best frameworks and everything. But the crux of the issues will be the challenges on the factors that contributed to the challenges. Sometimes the factors make whatever that we plan, it's hinder the progress of the implementation. So perhaps I open it to any other panelists that would like to share on what are the factors that contributed to the slow or hinder the progress of your implementation. Perhaps, for example, like the resistance to change, or because that they are not ready to go outside of their comfort zone. So I open to any other panelists that would like to comment based on your sectors, your experience.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Very, the interesting questions, very practical. I think that everybody left the chain. We always say the change, but we are afraid to change ourselves. So that is a big issue. So when we talk about for the integrated development, I said about the institutional sign law, every ministry, they have the, the specific mandates, and they are keeping forward for that they are only the program. Once they are exercised to the such kind of, the integration, that they still keep in that they are previous programs and activity. So in this case, what will be the, the factors will be there. If the country have the, like the central committee or some oversight committee, they can push it to those ministries. So for instance, I explained about the coordination body in Myanmar. I give the two examples. One is about the previous administration, they use about the Real Development and Poverty Reduction Committee chaired by the Vice President. So another, this administration, that we are very easy to cooperate within the ministries, and if those ministries are resistant, that we can report to the higher authority and then they can purchase. So very effective. But after the administration change came up with the new administration, they dissolved that committee. And then they didn't set up any committee for over 5 years. Now, study from this time again, the state leader set up the Central Supervision Committee that is chaired by the minister level. So if minister level chair, it means the horizontal cooperation. The first coordination is particular coordination. The second is the horizontal cooperation. I think that such kind of the integration has to be what the good federal will be the even only the policy and plan. It also for the oversight body, to integrate, to coordinate among the ministry, among the departments, as well also the private sectors and INGO, NGO. Thank you.
That's very interesting. So basically, normally we will think about the recipient, the resistance from the recipient or the stakeholders. But it's also from the administration, you also need to change in order to address all the challenges. Perhaps any of the other panelists would like to. Yes, please.
I fully agree with the institutional silos, no? And I think this is true whether at the national level or at the regional level. We tried to address that in the Philippines through the Convergence initiative, but I think we still lack, we still lack some, we need to link. No, so I think this is very important, the linkages, no? And earlier you heard from us inclusivity, you heard that cooperation, they are all necessary. I think it is very important for us to talk, to have a dialogue. And earlier I was talking to Marlene about can the AMAF also have a dialogue with the stakeholders, no? Because we don't have that platform yet. So institutional silos, I think, is a no-no, and we tried to do that nationally. And then regionally, I think we have to do more dialogue with the other sectoral groups of ASEAN. No? Another I think for me is that we have to provide the proper support. Maybe in agriculture, for example, maybe we provide a lot of machineries, we provide inputs, etc. But do they really need them? No, so I think, again, there's also a need for a dialogue with our constituents, no? With the farmers and the fisher folks. What do they really need? Do we just provide machineries because it is a requirement in our budget that we have to provide this? Or do we need to have needs analysis? No? What do they really need to improve their livelihood? So I think those are the two things that I think are important for the implementation to really, be successful.
Very, very well. Oh, okay. Ms. Would you like to elaborate?
Thank you. I would also expound on the issue on resistance, as you have mentioned. Yes, we are experiencing resistance on the part of program implementation, but the resistance are mainly coming from the political side, because there are political intervention, because this community-driven development emanates from the community, from the people. It's a bottom-up approach, and there are political interventions that they want to continue on the top-to-bottom approach instead of the other way around. And it's also the reason why sometimes you are having difficulty securing funding. As a matter of fact, for the implementation of the program, 80% of our funds are coming from foreign, either grants or loans, and we are having difficulty securing funds from the local government or from the local funds, because of those interventions or resistance. Thank you.
So the bottom up, it means that the beneficiaries, they will put the effort and then they elevate and then the government will take. So there will be both sides will be agreeable to do all the changes and make an improvement. But when we talk about this not in silo, the institutional, perhaps that is, we look into the vertical approach. So some of you shared on your successful story in your country. So perhaps the strengthening linkages is also should be applied on the horizontal approach. It means that maybe can be emulated by other ASEAN member states. So perhaps if you can just enlighten a little bit on what are the initiatives that you have done with other member states, so that we can, of course, that's the beauty of ASEAN family. So we learn, but what are so far that we have done to have a collaboration with other member states? Yes, Mr. Azman?
Okay, allow me to share in speaking about working in silo. To be true, I see the gap, especially when we're talking about MSME development and the rural development, especially when you talk about rural, you're speaking about agriculture and fisheries, something more traditional. But when you come to SME, MSME, it's more about retail, it's more about manufacturing. So there's a gap between these two. And what we can do in the future, I think we need to have more policy exchange at the ASEAN level between our sectoral bodies itself. And one of what I would like to highlight is that coming this 24th October, under the AXME, we are going to launch the ASEAN Center of Excellence for MSMEs in Green Transition. So this will encompasses all the micro and SME, which Malaysia as a host, they will host the MSMEs to have a training, particularly in sustainability businesses going to green transition in Malaysia. So what another interesting factor, they have done this gap analysis on what are the needs of training analysis. And when it comes to need analysis, the number one is agriculture. So it's closely related to the rural side. So it's interesting. So maybe we can make use of this COE, new upcoming COE. The building we're proposing, and most probably, just when you go out from this hotel, turn to your right, the building, another one at the corner, SME Bank, that's the building, the center, which will be the center. And under the CEDA, Center of Entrepreneur Development and Research, which is a training arm of SME Bank, that will be the center, which we will get all the MSMEs based on the topic, based on the subject module, to have the training in green transition. So I think this is one of the best starting point to do this collaboration.
That's interesting. And talking about the entrepreneurship, normally for the rural communities, funding is always a problem. To start a business, to go. That is why the strengthening linkages between the other sector bodies is very important, because it's all inclusivity of things to assist the rural communities to rise and then make it a better livelihood. So, Dr. Tan, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you so much, Moderator. So I think let's go back to the strengthening linkages between the rural people and the government or other institutions. Actually, we need to focus on the rural people, like rural people center approach or something like that. So that after that, we need a framework to work. This framework includes all the government approach and all the society approach, something like that. So it starts with the government structure, like the rural development committee, central committee, or something at the country level, at the national level, and also the regional level, and also at the very grassroots level. In the community itself, it needs also like the structure approach, something like that, like the rural development committee that include the people from that rural area, something like that. So that kind of infrastructure and framework approach, we already need to establish at the very first step. And then we need to communicate with each other, like communication with among the rural people, communicate with the government, or communicating with the like MSME or like the institution, so that we can understand each other. what is the really, what is they need, what is the really at the community level. Like they need healthcare, or they need financing, or they need like agriculture, technology or machine or something like that. So that we understand that community. And then the community itself understand itself. So that is very first step. The communication is very crucial in the very grassroots level and up to the government level. And then we need very strong connection. That is the Sunday linkage. That is the essence of this panel discussion. So the connection between the institution and the rural people, connection between the government, and connection between the finance sector and the rural development, agenda and rural people, that is also very important. So the connection we need to stronger and stronger, and also reach every grassroots level in each and every community. And then the third step is continuation. So we start to do the many projects, like the many pilot projects. However, it's and if the project is not very deliverable, like continuously and sustainability to the community. So we need a sustainable approach, how to sustain that community development, how to monitor this community really developing on the ground itself. So we need to continuously communicate, engage with that community. So that is not only in the health agenda, but also in all-round development of that community. So that in summary, I need to just mention about 3C. The first thing is communication. The second thing is connection. And the third thing is continuation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tan. And also just a summary, I understand that it also requires different level of government, central government, state government, and even to the bottom up on the participatory of the local communities. But maybe I missed, I did not see any, perhaps I missed out on that, on the participation of NGOs in strengthening the linkages to develop the rural areas. So perhaps in your countries, if you can share some of the NGOs, to what extent they assist the government in fulfilling wherever the agenda that we have set forth.
So now we call for the integrated development, we call for the whole of society approach. So this one, the multi-stakeholder has to come together and work together. So we cannot forget about for the NGO, INGOs, as well also the private sector. But let me give you the one example in Myanmar. 10 years back about the NGO and government sectors are not working together. Not working together. NGO think about the government service provider, let's say the government officer are just giving only the instructions, they know nothing. So in the government also see the NGO, they are doing the projects, and based on that they have funds, and they didn't well communicate nor report it to the governments, and they just do whatever they think. So those two are separately and not working together. And then around the 2010, we have the new administration, another first democratic government, and so they take the economic and social reform, and they set up the committee that the NGO, INGOs, and government sector work together. And then we have the development assistance policy guideline. So based on that development assistance policy, the more donors are coming, like say the World Bank is coming for this CDD project in Myanmar based on the Philippines and Indonesia experience. So such kind of the mechanism, the practices, and so we can work together. So we have very good relationship with the NGOs and government sector over the 10 years. But recently we have some constraint about for our administration. Now we have the 2-year time boost again with the NGO. But we are luckily again that now NGOs and INGOs start engaging. So what I give to the message is the government has to provide the environment for the NGO and INGO to work together. So NGO and INGO side also help to, the very simple and sincere cooperation with the government, not only to the donor-based approach. So that will be the, mutual understanding that two sides of the coin. So that will be better. Thank you.
Interesting, to hear the historical of the participations of NGOs with the governments. So perhaps if on the Philippines or Malaysia or even Myanmar, Dr. Tan, yes?
Yes,
Miss.
for the involvement of the NGOs, we believe on the whole of society approach in the implementation of programs to address the needs at the local level. There are NGOs that we are partnering with, wherein they are focusing on community organizing. They help us organize the communities to pull volunteers that could help us in the implementation of the project. So we can have more volunteers at the local level to help us. There are also NGOs helping us in also the provision of technical assistance based on their expertise. For example, there are NGOs focused on technical assistance in the provision of water systems. This assistance could really help the community to address their basic needs. So we are in agreement that whole of society approach is really needed to address rural development.
So the keyword is the whole of society. All right, maybe perhaps if you don't have from the panelists, maybe we can now open the floor. We can take a few questions from the floor. So if you have any questions, you may raise your hand and the secretary will assist to give you the microphone. But before that, before you post a question, I appreciate if you can just briefly mentioning your name, and also the organization that you are representing so that we can understand better. Or we also have a microphone being prepared, then you also may want to approach to your nearest microphone. Yes, I open the floor for question. And you're not mistaken, from the secretariat, there will be also, there's a possibility that we receive questions from online, right? So we will, maybe if you have questions from online questions, then we can also, alternately answering. Any questions? Yes. Please briefly tell us your name and the organization that you're representing.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Nazlinda from the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development. I got a question for Attorney Bernadette because you mentioned about community-driven development. I'm really interested to know how you make sure that the people in the village can concur to specific projects because everybody has different interests. So how do you get them to decide on a particular project? And how do you create this sense of belonging on the project they have chosen? Because we have this problem on sense of belonging. Because sometimes after government award the project, they do not want to take care of the project because they said it's provided by the government. So I would like to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nazlinda.
Yes, it's a good question. On the first question, we ensure the maximum participation of the members of the community. We are requiring, for example, during barangay assemblies or community assemblies, 75% participation, including women, all the marginalized sectors. So they will be part of identifying what should be the priority projects addressing their basic necessities. So that's one. And second, on your second question on ensuring the belongingness or the sustainability of the project, since these projects are identified not by the government, but by the people themselves, they have this sense of ownership. That, for example, the road they have built is not a road built by the government, but a road built by the people. Hence, it enhances the ownership and accountability, and they are protecting those projects because they really need it. Thank you.
Is that answer? Okay, yes, sir. Can I have honor, please? Your name and the organization?
I'm Cesar Bilangel from ASEAN. I have been working in the community, and I agree with our DSWD colleagues there. The SEEDS Kalahi is very effective implementation in the Philippines. The infrastructures that I saw at the village level, most of them are in remote areas. They are efficiently built. They are being used by the community. The ownership is very high. Transparency is very open. So this is the community participation technique here that I learned was full participation from the definition or identification of the project to the planning, to the implementation, and to the monitoring. It was done by the community. So my question is, did we share it? Did we expand this strategy in other agencies? I think what we heard, for example, in the health in Myanmar, they also made it very relevant of a community project. But how do we expand this strategy to cover other agencies in the fisheries, in the agriculture? Did you ever had this opportunity? If yes, what had been the constraint? Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. For the partnership, initially we have already partnered with the Department of Health in implementing community health projects, which are also identified by the community. So we have this Philippine Multi-Sectoral Nutrition Project. So it is a whole-of-agency approach wherein the DSWD provides the nutrition-sensitive intervention. So for example, we provide the water system, while the Department of Health provides the nutrition-specific interventions such as the immunization. So these are the requirements or these are the interventions that could help the community. So we have expanded CDD not only at the level of social welfare, but also on the level of health, similar to what Myanmar has presented. And eventually, we also want to expand with the other agencies. We have an initiative to institutionalize the approach as a national strategy. However, we are really having difficulty securing that measure. We do not have a legislative measure. It's a 20-year program, but we have not been able to institutionalize it because of some resistance. That's why in our recommendation, we are proposing that if CDD could be a regional framework which can be used into ensuring rural development.
I think that is what the importance of addressing the cross-cutting issues across sectoral bodies, across different level of government, as well as different types, and also the scope of ministries. So is there any questions? We would like to keep the momentum. So can we have the third question? Anybody from the floor? So I was made to understand there's questions from the online. Unfortunately, there's a technical glitch on the panel, the TV panel. Or is this a question? Okay. From an academic standpoint, what are the most effective teaching methods for diverse rural populations with varying levels of education? This is another standpoint, is from the view of education. So any of the panelists would like to teaching methods for diverse rural populations with varying levels of education from academic standpoint. Perhaps on the how to address on the rural issues on the education level, addressing the importance of giving education. So perhaps even though in agriculture, they won't be able to proceed or succeed if they don't have different skills of education in addressing or in the scope. So perhaps maybe also in the health, to be educated so they will be able to understand, and therefore it will help to strengthen the linkages. So perhaps any of the panelists will give maybe answer for that. Yes, Mr. Azman.
Just my thought. Maybe we can start something like we know what is the interest, the similarity of interest in the people. For example, we come across when you go through your social media, TikTok, we come across the whole village dancing in front of the phone for to be displayed in the TikTok. So this is something like the education level might be at the different stage. The age is varies, but the interest is there. So when it comes to digitalization, if they like to maybe sell something from the product, maybe you have to show something that this can work. I'm talking about from the perspective of from the entrepreneurship. So this can work. Maybe we can get someone who really have success from the rural area that have success through the social digitalization or social media to go to this approach these people and bring them together into the teaching of the people. It's not too academic approach, most like a hands-on approach and natural approach. That's my thought.
That's interesting. From the successful stories and the hand-holding the peers to be up and arose. Yes.
Okay. Actually, I am not from such kind of academic background, but I work mainly for the real developments, and we have so many vocational training programs and health promotion programs, as well also the awareness basic program. So to be the most effective, we have to meet the demand and the supply. What are the needs of that community? What are the issues of that community? Then we can provide for our services. Otherwise, sometimes, for example, the agriculture, they in the village level that they are facing the program of the pests. So we have to think about the pest control system. But our department made the tailor-made subject is about the agriculture practice training. So villagers just come and train because our government is requesting to them. Then take about the 10 days and then just go, but nothing else, the effectiveness. So that's why the service provider have to think about what are the needs of that community, what are the issues. Then we can provide the specific solution. Otherwise, that will not be effective. Second is we have to cautious about for the diversity. Because our rural communities are very diverse. They have so many ethnic minorities, they have the different language, they have the different culture. So only the one, if we use the national language, like the Burmese language to the hilly area, they do not understand. They do not understand. So they don't know nothing is and then nothing affected. So that's why we have to cautious about also for their language. Then we also think about for their culture. Sometimes they have the very specific cultures and that we have to be respect. Otherwise, those are not affected. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, in the Department of Agriculture, we have this Agricultural Training Institute. And the focus is, or the mandate is really to provide training extension services to all trainings, all capacity building activities will go through the ATI, we call the Agricultural Training Institute. And it's also one of the mandates or the directives for the Department of Agriculture to provide technical training. Unfortunately, under the local government code, extension personnel are no longer with the Department of Agriculture. So it's already with the local government units. So it's very difficult to connect. We provide the expertise, but the extension people are not with us anymore. But just the same, we have that institute and all trainings, and we also have a farmers field schools. No, it's again being handled by the ATI. So yeah, but I don't know if we're using already TikTok, but definitely we are using Facebook to reach more stakeholders and constituents. Thank you.
Yes, please, Ms. VM.
Aside from the localization of, let's say, methodology, teaching methodology in reaching those areas, and the use of available resources in the site, we should also consider the supply side. We want to teach them, we want to conduct capacity building activities, but there's no supply side, there's no facility that could cater to those activities. There are areas wherein they have to travel 7 to 10 kilometers just to go to school, just to go to training sites. They cross rivers, mountains, etc., just to reach those opportunities. What we also need is to increase the access, improve their access. So instead of them going to a training institute, let's make those training institutes go to the communities, go to the remote areas where the services are needed the most.
Okay, I think there would be any more questions? Yes, please, madam.
Just to go back to, I'm Marlene Ramirez from ASEAN. Just to go back to the point of ASEC pass on that willingness to work together among different ministries or agencies when you go back to the country level. I was thinking maybe the territorial approach could help, no? In really bringing together different agencies like the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the Department of Agriculture. If there's an opportunity to converge in one province, for instance, and identify who are the other stakeholders in the province at the province level for a specific agenda. And because the reality is like sometimes there's that excitement, that willingness to work together when we are, say, in Kuala Lumpur, but when we go back to the country level, you are burdened by your own sectoral tasks. And so who will take on, who will focus on bringing together the stakeholders? So maybe if at the province level, so there's involvement of the provincial LGU or the municipal LGU, as well as farmers' organizations, cooperatives, civil society in that area, a convergence could be adopted and but guided by a territorial programming. And this is something that I think might be considered not only in the Philippines, but in other ASEAN countries. So anyway, that is one. But I also wish to share an experience of SOM AMAF and SOM RDPE working together in 2024, the passing or the adoption of the guidelines on agroecology transitions. So while it's SOM AMAF via the the working group on crops that took the lead work with LICA, the Lao Initiatives for Agroecology, the national consultations on that passing of that guidelines on agroecology transitions was spearheaded by SOM RDPE, but at the national level, SOM AMAF and SOM RDPE co-coordinated together with civil society organization, in particular our member JAS. But that is for us a good example, an initiative under the Master Plan on Rural Development that different sectors agree to work on a common agenda, such as the passing of the AE transitions guidelines. And we think there could be more of this at ASEAN level, at the regional level, that could be done not only by one sector, but in fact a shared initiative by as many sectors. And the implementation follows if there is a multi-stakeholder mechanism at the national level. So it's a question or a consideration being raised for the speakers and the upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Respond to that?
Yeah, no, I just want to make a response or reaction. No. Actually, I agree with you. No, there's really a need for us to, to have a dialogue and even to. It's actually convergence, no? Convergence among the different agencies. Remember, in the Philippines, we have different agency handling a different mandate. No? So for the Department of Agriculture, we're into agriculture and fisheries, while DNR, the environment, is handling environment, the DILG, or the Interior and Local Government, is handling the local government, and then we have the agrarian reform. So we have different agencies actually handling themes or subjects that are really interconnected. And that's one problem that we have. And I guess the National Convergence Initiative for Sustainable Rural Development, or NCISRD, is a very good start. It started in the 90s, no? But it only focuses on resources. No, not on other, because it's reef to reef approach. So mostly forest. So I think we can add to that, maybe expand that. But Marlene, that we need a national policy for the agencies to really move. No, because you need to have even an executive order, perhaps, or if not a law, so that we can put budget. So that we can actually charge the expenses for that. So, but I think that's a very important or very critical, suggestion that you post, and I don't know how to do it. And DA, the Department of Agriculture, is only at the regional level. We don't even have presence at the provincial level. We only work at the regional level. So. Yeah, we have a lot of limitations in terms of, on working down when our stakeholders is really at the community level, but the Department of Agriculture has only the regional level. We don't have presence down, and it has already been devolved to the local government unit. But let's see, let's discuss that and on how to do that convergence with the other agencies. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for a very good question. Actually, this is it start with the government, and it also start with the rural community. So we need like a starting point. So the starting point from the government start with the focal ministry or focal institution, and then it have like room for cooperation and room for involving or including other agency, NGO or NGO, whatever partner they want to take part in. That is kind of starting point from the government. And also we need starting point at the community level. So like kind of rural development committee, village committee, something like that. So that can also include the local people, like the local NGO, local civil society, something like that. So that kind of infrastructure or framework we already need to develop. And then we set up how to communicate, how to understand each other. So that kind we can use like Facebook or TikTok or somehow media. So we can use that is popular in that particular area and according to their internet coverage or something like that. However, we need to focus. That is answer to the discussion to the previous question. When we set up one like implementation, not 100% of rural people will follow, because that is like maybe they have to adopt this idea and they have to follow this idea, and they have to work following this to develop in their area. So it starts with a small group of people. So like in academic time, we have in the health education, we have the fusions of innovation theory. It starts with small people. Only small group of people, like around 2.5% of people or 5% of people, they really understand what the development institution or development committee have already discussed in their participatory approach or something like that. However, if they done very well, and then they may share the information. That is kind of peer education. So peer to peer, group to group. That is they can understand their language and also their culture. So that is kind of peer education. They can extend, like they may be the early adopters, and then late adopters, and all the community, like nearly 64 to 70% of people will take part in this particular activity. So we need starting point. So starting point at the government level, and also starting point at the rural level. And then they can communicate, they can adopt, and they can learn each other. And also sometimes learning by doing is also very important. So sometimes we set up some program, and then we learn from what we are implementing in that particular workplace or something like that. So that is like, it starts with communication. So and then communication, and then set up each other, understand each other, and support each other. So thank you. I think I understand the previous discussion point and also this discussion point too. Thank you.
All right. So with that final response from Dr. Tan, I think we have come to the end of the session. And in a nutshell, to strengthening linkages to the rural development, it requires concerted effort for all parties, the whole of government, the bottom-up approach with the participatory of the stakeholders, and involvement of all various sectors, including aspects, for example, like education. So that's wrap up our panel session. And on behalf of the organizer, I would like to thank to all our panelists for sharing your time and valuable perspectives. It's very interesting. And we hope that the discussion gave you some food for thought and perhaps spark a few new ideas for you so that you can put on table during the brainstorming session this afternoon. So keep up the momentum. So with that note, I thank you everyone for your participation, and I end this panel session. Thank you.
Thank you, our distinguished panelists and moderator, for the productive discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand to our panelists and moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, we will now have a lunch break at ASEAN Restaurant Level 1. Please enjoy your lunch, and we will reconvene at 2 p.m. Thank you.
If he is, can you please, we will take a photo for the moderator and all the panelists.